Okay, the purpose of this video is to bring awareness to different layers of self and that it has its own unique levels of intelligence. And then I'm going to make subsequent videos that are going to dive a little bit deeper into those levels of intelligence. So first of all, we have our physical self, and this is our most commonly known self, is we're the guy of this ship and there's this physical aspect and that's us. And it has certain needs, like we have to feed it, we walk it around. So we can understand that that's a thing and it's tangible and it's physical. We also have another layer of self too, and that's our emotions. And we can see that our emotions act independently than our physical self. Some people are happy to do jobs that we ourselves are not happy to do. And so we can see that our emotions are different than that. And we also have our intelligent selves, our mind. And our mind is unique and different than our emotions and different than our physical selves. Maybe our physical self is hungry, but in our mind state, we don't want to eat. Or in our emotions, like eating causes an emotional trigger for us. So we can have counterbalances in any of these three places, and that's going to cause triggers and disharmonies throughout all of the other places too, because everything influences each other. You got to like what you're doing to enjoy doing it, to keep doing it. And so each of these bodies is unique into itself and operates independently of each other, but they all work together and communicate together. It's like you and me work independently on our own, but then we come together and we talk together in order to share and work together and grow together. So we're going to start with the mental self. The mental self has like a two-way window. It's thoughts coming in and thoughts going out. Thoughts going out, use the words like I, like I'm doing this, I should do this, I need to go to the store, I need to make sure I'm getting up, this is I stuff. That's you, that's your stuff that you're projecting out. You're like talking out into the experience. The things where the experience is talking to you is you words. You need to do this. You need to do that. You are failing, or you didn't do this, or remember you're this. Things with the word you, be mindful of how the statements are being portrayed, because you speak from a I perspective. The first person perspective is I am self. And then third person or alternate perspective is you. So when you're talking to somebody else, you use the word you. When you're talking to yourself, you use I. So there's that. And then you have your emotions, and your emotions come in two ways too. There's how do you feel about it, and how does your environment feel about it? Because everybody around you can be happy about doing something and you might not like it. And that's how you feel about it. That's an independent feeling, and that's related to you. And you can be wanting to do it. That could be a mental, like you want to do art, but you really don't like doing art. And so there's conflict in there because your emotions aren't aligned with wanting or that desire to do art. It's not something that brings joy to you. It's always been challenging and difficult. But the mental picture, you want to do it. Like it's a want or it's a desire. Like your mental is like, I want to do that. I can think about all of it. Or I want to learn music. You can think about it all. But the emotional construct's just not lining up with there. And so you can see people who are passionate about it. They pick up and they'll play the guitar every day, or they'll just paint pictures every day. And you're just like, how are you painting pictures? And you're like, just doing it. I like doing it, so I'm just doing it. And then you're stuck in the mental construct, and there's not that emotional or physical action there. So, but we see our emotional self is how we feel about what is going on and what we're doing. And that comes in two layers too. Like I said, is the environment's feelings and our feelings themselves. And most notably, we can sense negative emotions a lot easier than positive emotions. So you can like walk into a room where people have been fighting or there's been animosity, and you can like feel that in yourself and be like, wow, it's really tense in here. Are you guys okay? And the same goes if you walk into a room where people are like really happy and there's like a lot of laughter and joy. You kind of like actually like brings you up, and you're just like find yourself like subtly smiling and having more joy in yourself. That's environmental emotion, and that's what you're feeling from the environment. And other people are environment. Other animals are environment. It's the room. It's outside of yourself, the environment. So then that goes into different layers of discernment to discern what part of the environment is projecting that emotion to you. Now, there's self and how you feel about it, right? So be mindful of how you feel about every task you're doing, everything you're doing, because it should just come from a one of like joy and elation, and you would want to do this. And if you don't like doing it, then you see that there's a lesson or a challenge in there for you. So to work on that emotional self and work on that desire to love that task and love every facet of your experience. And then the last thing we're going to talk about is it's our physical self. Obviously, this is one of the most obvious ones. Our physical self comes in two big places. It's like me and others. And so we can understand this most when we have interactions with other people. So when you come here and we're talking face to face, there's my interaction and there's the other interaction. And my interaction usually will have something like, well, I think that you should do this. And that's me thinking from self through thought construct, because thinking is, I think, from my mental state as I'm processing, you, other, suggestion, so do this. If it's an emotional, I feel like this would be beneficial to you. Then it goes, I, self, feeling, emotion, suggestion, or you, other, suggestion, beneficial, this would be beneficial. And then that's very physical, and that's the manifested level. We're on the very manifested plane here on the physical platform. And so it's about how our character manifests our other desires, our emotional and our mental state into being its most positive self. And we can be more mindful about those interactions as they go on. So in the subsequent videos, I'm going to talk about each of these characteristics individually, and then we're going to talk about some things that we can do when we interact with those two. But the way they all tie together is our thoughts talk to our emotions and say, this is what I think we should do. How do you feel about this, self? And then self's like, I really like doing that. That's going to be really fun. And then you're like, okay, cool, let's go do it. So then you have this joy and elation emotion that builds up and you're excited and you're like, yeah, let's go do this. I'm excited to go do this. And then it's the opposite. If it's the opposite, it's like, how do you feel about doing this, self? And self's like, nah, just not into doing the gutters today, man. Like, I'm cool with that, without that. And then you're like more hesitant, more reserved. It's more challenging because your emotions don't want to do it. Your emotions are already fighting you. And you're like, well, we got to do the gutters. Like, babe's been asking us to do it. If we don't get it done, we've been blowing it off for like 3 weeks now. Like, we're getting sleeping on the couch territory now. And so then your mental space is trying to rationalize and like pep talk your emotions to be like, come on, bro, let's do this. Like, come on, let's do this. And then your emotions have to like either get up or you have to bypass the emotion construct and just regrettably or grudgingly do it. And then that's kind of a negative, but at least you're doing it with the task itself as a positive and the mental construct is a positive. So you had to bypass the emotional state because it wasn't understanding or willing to learn or connect in order to facilitate the action as a positive action, because you still need it to be a positive action. It's not okay to allow the emotional state to be like, oh, I don't want to do this. To be like, oh, okay, well, then we don't have to do this. So it's important that all three of ourselves talk to each other with logic and reasoning and understanding and in our highest aspect direction. So, and the way we can do that is learning about each one independently and seeing what do we think about the situation, how do we feel about the situation, and then our action on the situation should be the positive. And being mindful of that, because after you're done with the situation, we reflect on the situation and learn lessons. And that's how we see how we can improve upon, what did we do better, what can we do that's more or less, and then moving forward, then after we've learned our lessons and reflected, we look forward and then we learn upcoming lessons, and we take that bag into, or that knowledge into ourselves and work forward through that next time. You want to be excited for the next opportunity to like face that, because the universe is going to keep bringing it to us until we can do it in the most positive way. So learn those lessons and then be like, all right, next time, and then have that positivity, like next time I'm going to do better, I'm going to do this, I'm going to try all these things, and then like be mindful as you go in again and see how your emotions are feeling, see how your thought process is feeling, and see how your physical self is feeling, because none of those are you. You're the consciousness, the guide who talks to the thoughts, who talks to the physical self, who talks to the emotions, and ultimately commands like course of action. Okay, yep, I like that decision, we're going to go do this. So look for the next 3 videos. One's thoughts, one's emotions, and one's on the physical stuff.